How filthy.
What's up, guys? It's the Baller Sports Dialogue podcast with your co-hosts Brandon Deutsch and Graham Mona. We're here today with our boy Ollie, Athletic Games legend over here, knows a lot about basketball, went to Loyola High. How did you like Loyola? Tell us that first.
Dude, so much fun. I met my best friends for life there. Playing sports against the best teams in the state was incredible. I played baseball there, played Harvard Westlake. We played first-round draft picks, Division I commits, anything that you can imagine. And yeah, just had best friends for life. So it was a great 4 years.
And you are a diehard Lakers fan?
Hell yeah.
Okay, that's great to hear. So let's just get right into it with the Kyrie Irving stuff. Okay? Oh, you don't like the diehard Lakers take?
I want reserve judgment here.
Reserve judgment? All right, so we're going to start off
Two
with
diehard Lakers fans.
Exactly. So, Grant, you want to read us what you saw today on Twitter about the San Antonio Spurs getting into the Kyrie Irving sweepstakes? That's been honestly a bit quiet the last couple of days.
Yeah, so Spurs reporter LJ Ellis, he's been a close Spurs reporter for a while now. Spurs fans have been saying that he's pretty legit. So he said that according to his sources, now obviously there's a ton of sources, right? Everyone's talking about sources, but the trade that's closest to happening is the one for Kyrie Irving. It's not the one for Kevin Durant. He says Kyrie Irving sent to LA and then Westbrook being routed to the Spurs.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested to see what the dynamic would be in terms of would they buy out Westbrook? Would they keep him? Would they, who gets what?
Would he retire?
That's kind of, he's not going to.
I'm joking.
But to facilitate that trade, I think it says that the Spurs want an unprotected first from the Lakers. So it seems like the Lakers are going to have to give up both of their first-round picks in order to get this deal done.
And at this point,
it just depends on who gets what.
Are we all in agreement that they should at this point if Kyrie Irving's going to sign an extension with the Lakers and LeBron James signs an extension with the Lakers? Is that worth it to give up the 27 and 29? I personally think it is. I think they need to less need this, say, F them picks like the Rams did. They got a Super Bowl. Look what happened. They don't have their draft picks for 10 years, 20 years, 40 years. They got a title and they could win another one, right?
Yeah.
Is that the direction that Rob should kind of be going in right now, Oliver?
You only have LeBron for so long, and you're not going to get another LeBron ever. So you might as well get the most you can get out of him. Kyrie's already proven that he can win with LeBron, with the Cavaliers. It's huge. So I think if you get Kyrie there, I think it makes their odds at winning the title a lot bigger.
Where would you – okay, so let's say they do make this trade happen. They give up both first-round picks. Let's say they get in return Joe Harris. They send out THT, Kendrick Nunn. They bring up Scottie Pippen Jr. to be the backup point guard who's been balling. And they get a Josh Richardson from the Spurs. Westbrook goes to the Spurs with an unprotected first. THT, Nunn, and a protected top 10 first go to the Nets. They get Kyrie, all the drama off their hands. I know you don't love that trade, but in a 3-team deal, what can the Lakers give more than Kendrick Nunn, THT, Russell Westbrook? And, you're getting rid of Kyrie and you're not taking on the pain of Russell Westbrook. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I think both Kevin Durant and the Nets would prefer not to have the Kyrie Irving drama next year.
I understand that, but you got to, the Nets, it feels like, judging by what everyone's talking about, is that, first of all, for the KD trade, they're acting like nobody's giving them a great offer. So I don't think giving them a subpar offer for Kyrie Irving is going to do it for them. Because
how is this a subpar offer, though?
THT, Nunn, and a first.
Yeah, what happened throughout the year? Him and KD butted
I'd
heads.
rather have a superstar that now, there's no vaccine mandate in Brooklyn anymore.
Yeah.
So he'll probably play a majority of the games.
I think part of the reason why
And you'd want THT, Nunn, and a first for Kyrie. That would be probably the biggest fleece in the history.
Okay, then what happens if you get Westbrook there? Westbrook would be
That's
good.
better than Kendrick Nunn.
I agree with you. So why is there a third team even involved right here? Because if the Nets truly want to be a play-in team because Houston owns all of their picks, Westbrook's great on teams that are really bad. He's a stat pad.
I think it's just because the Spurs they want more draft capital than players at this point. So
But
I think
that's what they need.
I think they're hopping in. I don't think the Nets and the Lakers are saying, "Yeah, come on, Spurs, let's do this." I think the Spurs are like, "Hey, let's get into this and see what we can do."
Yeah, because they can just buy out Russell and they can take on that cap. It won't affect their cap room long term since it's an expiring contract, and still they would get some draft capital. So how quick do you think this trade is going to happen? Will it involve 3 teams? Oliver, I want to hear from you first. Or will it just be a straight up Russell Westbrook, 2 firsts, 1 protected in THT for a Joe Harris or Seth Curry and Kyrie Irving in the Lakers?
I would be shocked if it was just straight up. I feel like this is way too complicated of a situation to have it just straight up. I think 3 teams will be involved. But getting back to what he said about the Spurs, if Westbrook gets sent there in the Kyrie deal, it would make, to me, all the sense in the world for them to buy him out. Just get him out of there. Because the big thing for them is they need picks, right?
And they have the cap to do that.
They have the cap to do it as well.
Yeah,
especially when you see a guy for next year's draft in Victor Wembanyama. Like, they're gonna be one of those teams that are looking for a top lottery.
They're going to tank. So
Exactly.
they're not going to keep Westbrook.
I
We know
agree.
this because if Westbrook stays on that team, he actually helps that team because he's really great. He's shown his whole career that he can take really bad teams to the next level.
Now, do you think that there's another team besides the Spurs that can do it?
Yeah, Pacers, because they just waived those 3 players, right? I know
Yeah.
Bobby Marks was talking about this on ESPN earlier today. Shout out to Bobby Marks, except his awful, atrocious take that Steph Curry is the second best player of all time.
That was really bad.
That was really bad, and I'm not making any judgments, but man, I don't know what was going on in Vegas for him to say that. Maybe he was I don't know what he was doing. Either way, he still knows what he's talking about front office wise. He worked in the front office for years. He was saying now since the Pacers waived these guys, right, and they don't have DeAndre Ayton, they have free $30 million in cap within the next couple of days. So if the Lakers stand pat for 2 days, that will be able to, the Pacers will become a player in this deal to take on Westbrook for at least a year and maybe also work on a buyout as well.
And that also means that maybe the Lakers could get involved and get this is if the Nets trade doesn't work. Like, what if the Lakers just did a Turner and Hield trade for Westbrook and a couple other guys?
That'd be a good trade for the
you
Lakers.
You guys, as great Laker fans as you are, would you rather see Hield and Turner? Because in my opinion, Hield and Turner with AD and LeBron is kind of nice.
That's really nice.
That's really nice, as opposed to getting. I say opposed to getting Kyrie Irving like it's nothing, but 2 quality players for that same package as opposed to just Kyrie. What do you guys think about
Kyrie?
Kyrie
I
all
think
the
it's
way.
the end of the story. When you can get guys that talented, right, Oliver, like all on the same team. Yes, depth wise, it's better to get Turner and
Right.
Hield. But what Kyrie Irving was able to do with LeBron years ago, right, 2016, it's not like it was forever ago, it was 6 years ago. And Kyrie still is arguably a better offensive player now than he was then. He's more experienced. It's all about the drama, right, and the off the court stuff that he brings. If he's able to lock in even a little bit, being where Los Angeles is where he wants to be, right? Mm-hmm. With AD and LeBron, that's arguably the best big 3 of all time, talent-wise, right? So, I mean...
We said that about the Nets' big 3, too, though.
Well,
and they barely got together to play.
but that team didn't play defense.
There's also
the Lakers
proven
won't be able to
chemistry
play
with the
defense.
True.
So remember, we were talking about it. We're an advanced statistics podcast too. 14 out of the last 15 NBA champions have had a top 11 defensive rating. The Nets were never going to win a championship unless they had a top 11 defense. The only team that defied those odds were the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James when they came back 3-1 because LeBron was godly and defied statistics.
So was
Kyrie.
Kyrie.
also that they had a top 3 offensive rating, right? So that also helps. You got to have a mixture.
Yeah, I want to go back to Oliver because Oliver was he was iffy about
You'd
that
rather have Hield
trade.
and Turner, huh?
I don't think it's a bad idea because the other thing you have to look at in the Western Conference, everyone got better. Dallas got better from the Christian Wood deal.
Yeah.
Minnesota got better from the Rudy Gobert deal. Golden State's still going to be Golden State. Phoenix is still going to be Phoenix.
We're not fans of Rudy Gobert. That's why we do that. So.
I'm like, as a person, I'm not huge on him. However, I think it's going to help Minnesota.
Okay.
And in the West, I think it's especially important to get that home court advantage, to get that higher seed because you're going to be facing more talent. And Kyrie's sitting out X amount of games. You might want to have Buddy Hield. You might want to have Miles Turner. It might just help them become more well-rounded.
He's going to sit out games in Los Angeles?
He's done it before.
Yeah, maybe. That's the thing. It's a maybe. With Hield and Turner, you know they're going to play.
When Kyrie's motivated, and it seems like he's motivated to be in Los Angeles, I think it's beneficial to both sides, both Kyrie Irving and the Lakers, if they get this deal done and Rob Pelinka. I'd be fine with either. Just don't go into next season with Russell Westbrook as the point guard. Otherwise, you'll have in NBA 2K like 8% team chemistry. It'll be terrible. They sat across the room. LeBron was reportedly throwing shots at Westbrook today. Grant notes.
Yeah.
But I wanted to move into, before we get into the Donovan Mitchell trade rumors, you brought up Rudy Gobert in the Western Conference, right? The West has some healthy teams coming back. Clippers will be really great. The Nuggets, if Porter Jr. can get back to being healthy with Jamal Murray, they'll be really good. Dallas and Memphis are still going to be there. Golden State and Phoenix are still going to be there. So that's 6 teams right there.
Yeah.
And then the teams that are battling for the 6 to 8 spot, even if the Lakers get Kyrie Irving, yes, I would put him above Memphis and Dallas, but Probably. You just don't know at this point. It's a bloodbath in the Western Conference. Then you have Minnesota, right? And I think the Rudy Gobert trade, my reservations with this are that you gave up Walker Kessler, who's basically a discount Rudy Gobert, who you got in the draft, right? Then you give up 4 first-round picks and depth. Right, Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, for a guy that disappears in the playoffs. There's no denying that he's a great defensive player in the regular season. That guy couldn't guard air in the playoffs ever. It wasn't just a Rudy. Everyone for Utah fans are saying, "Yo, this is a Gobert problem." No, it was a Jazz problem. Quinn Snyder is a brilliant coach that he was even able to get the Jazz to the playoffs multiple times. That is not a top 15 roster, even with Mitchell and Gobert when they had it.
There was also chemistry issues, though. You got to factor that in. Donovan Mitchell did not get along with Rudy Gobert.
That's true.
Not only that, and that obviously deteriorated their chances in the series against Dallas without Luka Doncic.
Exactly, and they should have won that series, in my opinion. Going into it.
Oh, me too.
Well, because Doncic didn't play till Game 5, of course.
Yeah.
Brunson, that's where he got his back.
They even took a game from the Mavs with Luka, though, in Utah. So
it
was proven that it was possible.
It's possible, but I'm saying if the key to Minnesota is Anthony Edwards. Can he become that top 10 player? If he does, then obviously that raises their chances. And then you've got 2 interior big men, one that both that are quote soft, but still very talented.
Very talented.
Right? I mean, that's what people say about them. Cat has had issues showing up in big games, and so has Rudy Gobert. If they're able to click, and I think that's what Tim Connolly, who they paid tons of money to come in from Denver to come make this work. I think that's what he's betting on. Maybe this will work. We're going to improve our defensive rating. They're going to have a top 10 defense.
Yeah.
So that'll put them in position to compete for a championship right there. But so did Utah. And there were issues in the playoffs, but they have a much I'm scared about their depth. Taurean Prince is now.
That's fair.
Taurean Prince is now what? Their 6th man, right?
Probably.
I mean, Jared Vanderbilt was so good for them. So good. Patrick Beverly, amazing.
That was the biggest loss of that trade. Patrick Beverly was by far the biggest loss.
Because now Cat's going to have to guard the guys that Vanderbilt guarded. And Vanderbilt's an amazing defender. And he was guarding guys like they put him on LeBron, and he did a pretty good job. I mean,
he had a good year.
LeBron, you can't really stop him. But you give a guy away like Vanderbilt. I say give away. They got Gobert, but a perimeter defender, a wing in this NBA is so
and
crucial.
3 picks and Malik Beasley
crucial.
and Walker Kessler.
You give away a shooter, a perimeter defender, and a point guard defender for one guy and all your picks. To me, it's just it's inexplicable.
And I think that's why Brooklyn thinks they're going to get a bigger haul for Kevin Durant, and that's a great transition. I personally agree with the multitude of teams in the NBA that don't want to give up too much for KD because this guy had Kyrie Irving on his team. I know some guys were hurt like Ben Simmons, Joe Harris, but he couldn't get one game on the Boston Celtics. Not even one. I get it if Tatum misses that shot, it's a different story. But at the end of the game where he spun that great move, he couldn't get one game. This guy's been injury prone the past 2 years. Yes, he's a top 5 player in the NBA, probably a top 3 player in the NBA. Some say he's the best in the NBA.
Yeah.
But talent-wise, it's there. But he couldn't get one game on the Boston Celtics, and they're asking for 2 superstars for this guy who's 33. If I'm the Raptors, I agree with them in their stance not giving up Scotty Barnes for Kevin Durant.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? I don't agree with the Pelicans wanting to keep Brandon Ingram over Kevin Durant because KD is what Ingram's ceiling of ceilings is. He'll never be as good as Tatum. If he ever gets there, that's his ceiling of ceilings, and you're getting a guy in a 4-year deal.
He's had injury issues, too.
And let's talk about that. Why would the Pelicans decline? David Griffin is such a...
he's a methodical GM. I feel like he's a methodical GM. But
he's so stubborn in the sense, you get Kevin Durant... And you're going to give up what? Larry Nance, Brandon Ingram, and 2 picks. You're telling me you won't do that?
That's
a core of Zion, a healthy Zion, a Kevin Durant, a CJ McCollum.
I feel there's more to it.
Dyson Daniels.
I feel like it's not just going to be those 2 players and
Alvarado.
picks. It's going to be more players. And that's probably what he doesn't want to do.
Okay. Well, then that makes sense.
Because that's your problem with Minnesota, right? They don't have the depth.
Yeah.
No, but Gobert, KD is a legitimate guy that can help you win. Gobert hasn't proven that in the playoffs.
Yeah.
KD was the best player on those Warriors teams that won both those years.
Yeah.
Right? So, that's where his value comes in. But I agree with most teams. I think Kevin Durant's going to be a net in the fall.
I agree. I don't see a place. I don't see where the money works out. I don't see where the draft picks work out. If it was anywhere, it was Phoenix. And then they just
then now with the DeAndre,
they can't
trade him. They don't have the assets unless they part ways with Devin Booker,
which
they're not going to.
Yeah.
So They shouldn't.
You know,
I agree.
and
They shouldn't.
Windhorst is saying now that like the Suns have not even included Mikal Bridges in any offers. So like,
Right.
if you're the Nets, you're not even going to give me like one of your best young players.
Well,
for Kevin
Mikal
Durant.
Bridges would be like 8% of that deal. I know
but
Bridges is
he would
great.
be kind of like
but-
the centerpiece young player.
No. You
That's-
had to include Mikal Bridges and get compensation
Right.
and another star player in a
Yeah.
third team deal with DeAndre Ayton. That didn't happen.
Right.
The Nets are out of the picture. So unless Kevin Durant includes more teams to his preferred destinations, he's going to be a net in the fall. I mean, the promotional poster didn't show Kyrie Irving. It showed Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, and a couple other guys, right?
Right.
So, like, you saw Kyrie wasn't there. So I'm starting to believe that most league insiders think the KD thing will happen first, but most league insiders also say that Kyrie's going to be a Laker. And how do those two things happen at the same time? If KD goes back to the Nets, does he say, I don't want Kyrie back, you better trade him if you want me to play at least this year on the roster, you couldn't find me a spot, right? Or does Kyrie go back to the Nets and then the Lakers are kind of put in this Kawhi situation again, where they waited, and they couldn't get anybody, but they won a championship. But
Yeah,
still,
right.
It still worked out for them.
That's what I was
Yeah.
going to say.
But you know what? But also LeBron was 35 at the time. It's
Yeah.
not like he's now 38. He's aging. He can play less games. Davis was healthier than he is now. So like,
Well, going back to your thing about running it back, if KD comes back, right,
yeah,
their roster is pretty damn good. Like,
T.J. Warren.
in
I
my
agree.
opinion, they traded for Royce O'Neal, who's a very good
He's a
perimeter.
really good
he was
player.
the best defender on the Jazz perimeter
By
last
far.
year.
He's a championship player.
They re-signed Patty Mills. They re-signed Claxton.
Well, Patty Mills had a really bad year.
I understand that, but he's a shooter. That you
He's
can
a
put
good
around.
guy to have on your
You know,
team.
100%.
When you're trying to make a playoff push.
Exactly.
Royce O'Neal, you have Ben Simmons, who, I don't know, even if you get the defender Ben Simmons, not even the offensive player,
That
that's
could
a
make
win.
them a top 10 defense. And if
And
that is the
it
case,
could.
they could win a
Joe
championship.
Harris, Seth Curry, like that's a good roster for the Nets to go compete in the East.
I agree with you.
Especially even if Kyrie comes
And
back.
if you added
around.
Kyrie and somehow they get a top 11 defense with the additions of Simmons
and if you
O'Neal,
trade Kyrie, you get assets back. So
No, but
you'll add to
THT
that.
plays defense. Even though you
Right,
don't like
right.
that deal, it's a low ball deal, obviously,
Right.
for the Nets. THT has shown the ability to play really great defense at times. He's a 7-foot wingspan. So if you get
Right.
him, you get Kendrick Nunn, who also plays defense in that
Yeah.
deal as a backup guard, you bring KD back. I like their chances more than if they have Irving on
Right,
that
so
team.
You just
know?
lose so much
like,
offensively if you get THT and Kendrick.
Right.
Nunn. They're just
Right.
not good enough on offense in that deal.
100%. 100%. But at the same time, that's what the Lakers went in and accomplished this offseason. They got younger and more defense. They prioritized shooting around LeBron last year, but they completely whiffed on defense. They had no defense, and look what happened. Teams cannot win a championship without
Not
defense.
defense, yeah.
Right? So if I'm the Nets, I'm thinking, well, we don't have the cancer on the court of Westbrook, right?
Yeah.
Because off the court cancer is Kyrie. You're getting rid of him. They don't want him. Sean Marks, I'd be surprised if Kyrie's a net because they don't want him back. They don't.
No, they don't.
They don't want
They've
him
made
back.
it clear for months
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
that they're not
exactly.
gonna
KD
sign
over
him
Kyrie.
long-term.
Yeah, I'm sure they were talking to his camp. I think that's probably why he opted in because first he wanted the money and he wanted to screw with them because
Yeah.
I don't think they wanted him to opt in. You know, they'd have been fine having him just leave even for nothing just to get him off the roster. But you're going to get something for Kyrie Irving. This makes me now go into the other trade rumors.
Ooh, boy.
Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Let's
Yep.
get into this one. The Knicks have been engaged with the Jazz on a blockbuster deal.
Let me just mention the
Yeah.
offer that they gave. So the Jazz asked for 6 first-round picks
Mm-hmm.
and Grimes, Quickly, Toppin, and McBride.
That's a lot, but
That is a
Yeah, everyone in the
I would
state of
never
New
do
York would love to do that because they just want a
Are you
star
kidding? They want
so
stars.
bad.
I know that's a lot of depth.
Do you know how much depth they just give away there
and 6
and
picks.
the future?
But guess what? I don't care as long as you have Mitchell and Barrett. That's a
You can't.
great
Yeah,
and
you
Brunson.
cannot give up RJ Barrett.
Brunson, Mitchell, and Barrett is going to get the job done.
No, but it's going to make them relevant. They're going to be in the playoffs.
they're not going to be relevant because all of their depth's gone.
It doesn't matter.
You're going to have
Mitchell's a
Randall
superstar.
and,
no, but you can
and
get
Mitchell
depth.
Robinson,
You can get
and then
depth.
who's your bench? Derrick Rose.
See,
and
I
Noah.
just okay. I wouldn't be opposed to sending Robinson, who they just signed, to make the money work with Donovan Mitchell, right? Robinson, and like you're gonna have to part ways with Grimes or either Grimes or Toppin and
Well,
McBride.
yeah.
One
Yeah.
of the two. You can't give all of
Quickly?
them plus 6 picks.
Quickly,
no,
they
you
have
keep
to
quickly.
keep. They have to
You,
keep.
you
I
either
don't think
keep-
they get it done if they don't get rid of Quickly.
So
Yeah,
okay,
that's what I'm
so then you have to
thinking,
keep Grimes. You have to keep one of those guards, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
but who's
gotta-
to say the Jazz won't ask for both of them?
Well, I mean,
Well,
they just
if they
asked
do,
for
then you
everybody in the
okay.
world.
Well,
so-
if you do, then you got to keep Toppin because
Yeah.
he's shown the ability to actually play defense. He fits in Thibodeau's system. When he got more PT, he was better. Fournier, you're going to have to include in the deal as a buyout for the money, right?
See, so there goes him.
So there go. Well, he's come on.
I mean, he's not good, but I'm saying like I'm thinking depth wise because if you look at the finals last year, Warriors had depth, Celtics had.
I'm not opposed for a team, for an organization that's so poorly run by James Dolan and Leon Rose.
Horrible.
And Leon Rose has done a decent job over the past couple of years, like getting them Tom Thibodeau and a couple pieces to at least be in the playoffs 1 out of 2 years in his tenure. So I'm not going to say he did a terrible job, but they have the worst owner in sports in James Dolan. Everybody knows that. It's not close. It's not close. Right? So if you have the opportunity to sell tickets and get a Donovan Mitchell and pair that with Brunson and Barrett, I know it's not the greatest thing in the world, but you even keep a Quickly or a Grimes or a Toppin in that deal, you have to do it. I don't care about the picks at this point. Do you? But also, you can include Robinson because then you have Jericho Sims.
The problem with New York is what you just said. It'll look good. They don't as a New York Knicks fan, I don't care what it looks like. Build a championship roster. And you said, it'll attract people.
But do you trust them in the draft?
But the team is not going to do well.
Mitchell's a proven star. Do you trust the Knicks in the draft? They traded all of their picks in the draft for cap space for Brunson.
I'm not saying don't give any picks, but don't give up 6.
Well, you don't need to give up 6. That's what negotiating. They'll probably work it to
they asked for that, but
3 or 4 because DeJounte got 3, right? And a couple
if that's the initial offer, that's everything that the Jazz would ever want.
So think about this. If DeJounte, when he got traded to the Hawks, they got 3 picks, right? The Hawks gave up 3 picks and a couple other things. Yeah. Okay, so that haul, you're going to basically times that by 1.5, right? Not 2, because Mitchell's more impactful on the offensive end, obviously.
And him are kind of...
Yeah, but Mitchell's better. Yeah. Let's be real. Mitchell's actually proven in the playoffs. Defensively, Murray's better, of course.
So it kind of...
But Thibodeau's obviously probably don't give up all our depth because Mitchell doesn't play defense and stuff like that. Right. But they're going to make the trade for Mitchell. I do think this happens at some point. If it's not them, it's the Miami Heat, which we'll get into next. But... The Knicks. Let's stay on this topic for a second, right? I think they worked down to three or four picks in 2 of their depth guys, Cam Reddish, Evan Fournier, and Emmanuel Quickly or Quentin Grimes. I think they're going to be able to keep Toppin. I don't think Toppin's value is as much as Quickly or Grimes simply because he's older. I know he's good and he still has a ton of potential to reach. And I like Toppin. He showed that he could take over games sometimes. Reddish is going to have to be included in the deal, I feel like. Because
he will.
The Jazz really want guys that they can tap the potential. And Reddish has shown the ability to really take over games.
He's shown it at times, for sure.
Yeah, so let's go into the Heat side of things. I said this the other day on my TikTok. I really think that the Heat will prioritize Donovan Mitchell over Kevin Durant. And I don't think that they should be completely, teams shouldn't be surprised by that. Mitchell's younger, less injury prone, and they won't have to give up as much for Mitchell than they will to Kevin Durant, arguably, right? So I feel like the Heat are the sleeper team here to acquire Donovan Mitchell because they have the package centered around Tyler Hero, who, look, we can say all we want about Utah. They love their white superstars. Nothing against that, but they love it. Tyler Hero would fit in perfectly in Utah. They love their white superstars. Gordon Hayward, they loved him. They were really mad when he left. Tyler Hero, I mean, he's a white star. They like it, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. You're laughing, but there's nothing wrong with that. They like their white players. It's fine, whatever. So you get Hero in there, right?
No, I think Danny Ainge does because he was with the Celtics.
Now the Celtics, they barely have any white players once Ainge leaves. But when he was there, they had a ton of white players. No, I'm saying you got to evaluate talent regardless of that. But they get that guy that the fans want. They would love Tyler Hero. They'd welcome him with open arms. And then you take on a guy like maybe Duncan Robinson, another white player who can shoot. To make the money work.
I just don't think that's the main priority in the trade. Call me crazy. What? I don't know.
I'm taking Hero not because of his skin color. I'm taking it because he's a good ball player.
Yes. But I'm saying the fans in Utah like their white basketball
best
players.
Bench player in the league last year. That doesn't matter.
I'm banking on. Of course, but I'm saying it helps that he's
the
white.
Fans what they want. I'm taking the talent.
Say whatever you want. It helps that Tyler Hero is white in Utah. But they would trade for anybody. Mitchell has been great there. They've welcomed him with open arms. He's not white, right? So, yes, Hero has the talent to be centered around that package, but it helps even. I think it's just too good to be true. Hero in Utah, you get and Robinson not for because he's white. That would be a plus. It's because the money would work better, right? Obviously.
Yeah, Miami has to dump that contract.
They have to dump him.
It was bad from day one.
We were talking about it earlier. That's one of the worst.
Cole Swider's already better than Duncan Robinson, and he's on a 2-way deal in G League. It's a better shooter, right? So you put Duncan Robinson. Maybe you give I don't know, do you give an extra pick or alongside Tyler Hero to get a Mitchell? Because I think that's the number one option. If I'm Utah right now, yeah, we're not competing, but why not let Tyler Hero be the man? Bring him over, let him be the man.
I think Miami was the team I thought Donovan Mitchell was going to go to once I heard those rumors. I think it's more feasible. It's less draft picks, less players. The money's there if you trade Duncan Robinson. The only thing is Utah might get greedy and try to get their first-round draft pick, Jovic. I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, I don't think – and Miami's not trading Jovic.
I wouldn't.
No,
he has so much potential.
And Pat Riley has said that he's the future star of the Heat in years. And, like, this is a long play here, and that was a brilliant draft pick. You know how high
I'm surprised he
dropped top 5 for me.
I'm surprised he dropped that far.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't think that Pat Riley's going to do it, but I think the Knicks are being very aggressive. But just Miami's kind of they're gauging the market right now.
Well, let me mention that there's a report that I just saw that the Jazz asked the Heat to get a third team for the trade because they don't find any of the package that the Heat are offering sufficient. So
what do you mean? So either Tyler Hero's not included.
So what they would
or Jovic.
Tyler Hero would probably you'd have to get a third team to send him to because you got to understand this. I think Tyler Hero wants to start on a team too. So
he can't start on Utah.
Right? Yeah, he'd start on Utah.
Easily.
But if you send him to a team like say New Orleans gets involved, right? He's probably going to be a 6 man again. Like he's not going to be a guy.
That's why I'm saying I don't
know how this.
Why are they not
seems
interested?
Like the Jazz and the Heat are just.
It's
not.
Probably because either Tyler Hero's not involved or they really want Jovic. I could really see that being an issue because they don't have the picks that the Knicks have. So Jovic is probably the guy they really want.
Yeah,
like Blazers maybe if they get involved.
No, but I doubt a third team gets involved with Miami because I feel like Miami has.
Well, I'm just telling you what the Jazz. What this
that's what
obviously,
they want, but you can't get what you want. I'm sure Sean Marks wants KD to be there for 4 more years. Yeah. He's like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
He could be there for another year, but still going to get traded next offseason once there are better packages, if that's even a possibility. All right, let's go into the DeAndre Ayton situation, which is causing a ripple effect across the NBA.
Huge ripple effect.
This is a huge ripple effect. 4 years, $133 million. It's $33.5 million a year. The Suns were adamant about not paying him over $30 million a year. Ever. They didn't want to do that. But James Jones had said previously that he was going to do whatever it takes to keep this core together. Now they're out on the Kevin Durant sweepstakes, like we mentioned earlier in the show, because they cannot trade Ayton until January 15th. And he can choose, he can decline a trade option for a full year, which is part of that power
that's huge
given
right
to the
there.
restricted free
that's
agent.
Huge right there.
So, I mean, the Pacers, it's kind of crazy because they didn't have enough protection in that contract really to make the Suns kind of go like, because nothing was really guaranteed other than the money. Like they didn't push enough for DeAndre Ayton except waiving those players, right?
Yeah.
Either way, the Suns probably match. But how big of a loss is this for the Pacers here? Because I think DeAndre Ayton, because I think DeAndre Ayton would have flourished in Indiana where he could have put up 24 and 12 a game as the second option on a team that really is not that far away from contention within a couple of years. Once Tyrese Halliburton, Ben Mathurin, Jalen Smith,
I like the core.
The core is
They have
good.
a solid young core. They have a solid young core.
So, like, if they got DeAndre Ayton, that's a fringe playing team.
It's also just makes it weird because they've made it pretty obvious Miles Turner is not wanted, quote unquote. He's not the guy that they're looking into. So they were really happy once they got into an agreement with Ayton, and then Phoenix matched it like that, probably because they realized they were never getting Kevin Durant. So I think it's a big loss for the Pacers. Plus, him and Halliburton would have been nice. That would have been nice, too. And you have Buddy Hield shooting threes in the corner, Benedict Mathurin, the rookie.
Well, even if you don't have Buddy Hield, then you put in Chris Duarte.
Yeah, Chris Duarte at Oregon.
You're chilling. It's basically a Buddy Hield plus once he's able to shoot more consistently and play better. I mean, he's already a better defender, right? So you basically have that. I don't think Hield's there. I don't think Turner's there. So maybe the Lakers are an option, but I also don't think the Pacers are reaching out and saying, hey, we want Taylor Horton-Tucker, because Taylor Horton-Tucker really didn't show much last year. Despite the moves we saw, yes, he's still 21, 7-foot wingspan. But
I think he has 1 year left on his deal because he signed a 2-year deal.
Yeah, but
he has 1 year left.
Think of a team like New Orleans that could give probably a better, well, not now because Liddell tore his ACL, so they don't have many options, but a team like that, right, the Trailblazers, someone that may want Buddy Hield and could package, not a Keon Johnson, but maybe a Jabari Walker, the second-round pick they got from Colorado or something. Like, there are better options than Taylor Horton-Tucker right now for the Pacers, which is why those deals are stagnant. I also think Rob Pelinka knows he's probably going to get a deal done for Kyrie at some point, whether it's Now, after training camp, at some point, I think he feels
Yeah, I
that.
think
I don't see a
So-
team outside the Lakers getting Kyrie Irving.
I don't think
really
any
don't.
team wants Kyrie Irving besides the Lakers.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I mean the Mavs were. There's reports about the Mavs dabbling in it.
James,
but-
our producer, what do you got to say?
Little
stat here.
Here we go.
Stat for you. Just so this to brag. Kyrie's been in the league 11 seasons.
Yep.
He's played over 70 games twice, over 60 games 3 times.
Wow.
So 5 out of 11 years he's gonna play 2/3 of the season.
I think he's still
Just
got
put that out there.
talent wise. I don't care.
Under half.
I don't care if he misses the whole season. If he's there for the playoffs, is all that matters. If you get LeBron, Davis, and Kyrie, that talent in the postseason,
That's what the Clippers should be doing with Kawhi. Bubble
what
wrap
sit him out the
until-
whole year?
Bubble wrap him until the playoffs.
He created that thing. He created the softness we see today. Kawhi doing his
That's
his
another
load
topic.
management. It's true. It's true. It was Michael Jordan load managing in the 1980s.
No, but he was gambling and got 2 years off.
Yeah, but he
So-
played 82 games. He was tough as nails.
Hot take.
It was his tough as nails. Kawhi started,
I got
and
him.
it's
I got him
crazy.
loaded.
It's crazy because Kawhi is known as a hard-nosed player before he starts putting himself in bubble wrap all year and like faking injuries, the severity.
You don't
of
think the
injuries.
Clippers have anything to do with that?
I think they did.
Oh, they do. They
Yeah.
do.
This is a. I mean,
By the way,
it's a
Kawhi,
tandem.
Kawhi is a top 5 player in the league. I'm okay with him sitting out a few games.
Thank
yeah,
you.
but not
You know what
like
I mean? Like-
40 every year.
40. He didn't sit out 40.
He sat all of
games.
last year.
Okay, he
Originally-
He was hurt.
ACL.
He tore his ACL.
It wasn't a
against
full
Phoenix.
tear, was it? It was partially torn.
You still have to tear the ACL.
I
and
know, but
repair
I
it.
feel
It's
like
the
he
same
could have
thing.
come back, but they were being extra safe,
That's
and they were
fine.
doing that the year before with his
Would
knee.
you
That's
want
fine.
your franchise player coming back on a partially torn ACL?
But think,
No.
think what it did though. When Kawhi wasn't able to get into a rhythm, yes, they beat the Mavericks that year. When they sat him out because of the knee issues throughout the year, they weren't. Their chemistry was off. Grant, tell me if I'm wrong.
No, you're completely right, but that was 2 years ago. The
I know.
team that they
I'm
have now
saying
is
they need-
exponentially
I know, but
better
they
than
need
what they
to
have.
play-
So
Kawhi
that's
needs to
why
play-
they sat him out, because they know that this year
Exactly.
is the year for them to
exactly.
do it.
But they
gotta
need
stay
to play
healthy.
Kawhi
Yeah.
65 to 70 games this year. They need to do it.
I don't think they need to. That's
You
why
think
they have
50
all the
games?
depth. That's why they have.
They
all
have
that
some of the
depth.
best depth in the league. That's why they can get away
I mean,
with
Paul George is going to be fully healthy too. Let's not forget.
How many
about him.
games- okay.
So they have him, and then everyone.
How many
else.
games does Mr. Street Clothes Anthony Davis play this next year?
He
it.
60.
Street clothes.
Why? Because he's working with Lethal Shooter. Who'll
No,
play
I just
60?
think that first of all, he's had a lot more time off. And it just looks to me, I mean, I've seen it on social media, it just looks like he's putting more work in. That's really all
He
I
got
have
to
go
that
off
jumper
of.
on Lethal Shooter's Instagram
I'm
real
not-
slow, though. He
I'm
was
not-
like kind
I'm
of
not
galloping.
worried
over
about
the-
his game. I'm never worried about Anthony.
Well,
I'm
He's-
worried about his mind.
Yeah,
Like,
because
yeah.
Anthony Davis at full strength is arguably a top 5 player with his impact on the defensive end, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, and what he can do offensively. We'll see what happens. I mean, I really can't go into stress the importance of Anthony Davis for the Lakers. People said it was Russell Westbrook. Yes, Russell Westbrook he was a huge reason why the Lakers weren't successful, but it's Davis's health. That's the key to everything here.
Okay,
Everything.
so if you get Kyrie, Davis is healthy, you get LeBron. You see a team like Golden State or the Clippers, where do you think they stand in that?
They're probably the 3rd best team.
Their best team?
Maybe behind Memphis,
Because
too.
if they get Kyrie, they're going to send Harris or Curry with them.
Yeah, and then you
And
put
that's
another
true, that's a
shooter.
big- yeah.
And that's arguably the best roster that's ever been around LeBron talent-wise, if you get Kyrie and Joe Harris.
Over like the prime Miami Heat teams?
Yeah, because Wade was aging, so was Bosch. You know what I'm saying?
can- yeah, you-
like,
You can make the argument.
Yeah, you could.
like,
yeah.
you can make the argument. I'm not saying it's undoubtedly like a better team. Obviously, the Miami teams were loaded, and it was prime LeBron. LeBron's
Right.
great now, but he's also, you remember, he's lost a little bit of a step, especially defensively. So that's like the impact of him is like a little different. He has to load manage, which makes sense. He's 38 years old,
Yeah.
right? So it's different. But last topic of the day. So you brought it up first. I was going to bring it up. You think that the Lakers are going to be what? I said 3rd if they get Kyrie and Joe Harris behind Golden State and the Clippers, but they could be 4th or 5th behind Memphis,
Denver.
Dallas, or
Denver.
You know what I'm saying? Because I think Denver has a really good shot to finish 1st in the West. I think they're a regular
Yeah.
season
When
team.
Jamal gets back.
When Jamal gets
all
back,
that.
KCP. What was that whole BS that KCP said about if Davis
Yeah.
missed that shot, the
Nuggets would have won the series.
Yeah, right. I mean, that was
In-
the second
in
game.
2020
Wasn't that the second game of the
against the
series?
That was game
That's
2, yeah. He hit the fadeaway.
And they were
three.
up 1-0, the Lakers. am I
Yeah,
wrong?
they were. Yeah. I believe
That's
it's game two.
ridiculous. I mean,
Man, he's already adapted to that Denver weed, bro.
He signed an extension, KCP. with
He
the-
knows a James like that, a producer like that. He's adapted to that. Whatever he's on in Denver, that shit is working for him, for sure. Straight up. We need to get some of that, right, James?
Yeah, we can roll that up.
Joel have some too? I think Karina would kill
That would be
Joel
a
if
sight
it-
to see, Joel.
Joel, yeah, Karina would kill both of us if we got a hold of that KCP weed. So you really think that the Lakers? Where do you see them right now?
I don't think they're better than Golden
Like right
State.
now, they're a 9 or 10, 11 seed.
Oh, come on.
Come on, bro.
that's
No one can
ridiculous.
shoot on their roster right now.
That was never the problem. Last year, all Laker fans kept saying, dude, we can't play defense. Dude, we can't play defense. It was never, oh, we can't make shots. It was, hey, we can't play defense.
Well,
We
now
can't
they
guard
play defense and they can't
Thank you.
make shots.
No, you don't need to make shots when you have not Kyrie. When you have LeBron and AD.
What about Westbrook? So you go into next season.
I
with
still
Westbrook.
think Westbrook's gonna have a bounce back year. Wherever he goes.
Either
If he
way,
stays
wherever he goes,
They're not. Yeah, no. I don't see it. If Westbrook stays, it's going to be a bad year. It's going to be another bad
they
year.
might win less games if Westbrook is on the roster. That's a hot take.
Less
but
games
yes,
than last year?
Yes. It's a possibility.
Look at those faces over there.
Am I wrong?
Less
Anthony
games.
Davis will probably be there.
Okay, so they'll win more games because Davis will be healthy and they'll have Lonnie Walker and a couple defenders.
If Davis is healthy.
Okay, but let's say they get Kyrie. Where do you have him? Third still, like us?
I say top 4.
You say top four?
I would say top 4. I still think Phoenix is going to be
Yeah, me
one
too.
of
You
those
can't
teams.
count out Phoenix.
I know,
Yeah,
because they'll be a
Monty
good
Williams is a great
regular
coach.
season coach. He's a great coach, regular season, great. Okay, so I guess that leaves it there today. That's what we're talking about. Free agency, trades. We'll see if the Kyrie trade happens somewhat soon.
Yeah.
Before our
Yeah.
next podcast. The Ayton effect will be in effect the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Oliver, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I had a good time.
You got, yeah?
Thanks,
Sleeper team in the West, top 4 seed, calling it now. Pelicans.
Oh,
Yes,
I love
yes,
it.
I like that take.
I love
Producer
it.
James right
I
there.
love it.
Pelicans are nice.
Pelicans are nasty.
nice.
Nasty. Even without Liddell. Look at that. CJ, Ingram.
Herb
What?
Jones,
Herb
Alvarado.
Alvarado.
Valanciunas.
Grand Theft Alvarado. Best
Oh my
nickname
God.
of all time, huh?
And Willie Green's a player's coach. They love him.
Oh,
they
yeah.
love him.
Yeah.
I would be. They're going to have an upset in the first round next year. They'll beat whoever they play in the first round. I really think
So
that.
they play the Lakers with Kyrie in the first round? Or the
No, come on. Okay.
What?
No, they don't.
What you
The
said?
Pelicans can match up with the Lakers.
Not LeBron. LeBron is the greatest postseason player in the history of the game.
Oof.
He went to 10 straight finals.
Oof.
If he has Kyrie and Anthony Davis on his team, think about this. LeBron has never missed the finals with a healthy star next to him. This is a true fact. Look it up. Anthony Davis got hurt against Phoenix. Otherwise, they win that series. He was hurt last year, and so was Westbrook. Well, Westbrook wasn't hurt, but he was on the team. But Anthony Davis, and I don't consider Westbrook a star,
I was gonna
obviously, right? And all the other years, he freaking made it with Matthew Dellavedova as the second best player one year.
You're telling me that him and Zydrunas Ilgauskas is not a star?
You know what's crazy? His jersey's retired in Cleveland.
Haters gonna hate, bro. Ilgauskas can,
Fun fact,
can eat
people
free
are
in
wondering.
Cleveland forever, bro. Talk about some guys riding on the coattails to success. Who rode on LeBron's coattails all the way to.
I don't know. Drew
Three
Gooden, he was
moves.
nice. Drew Gooden was nice. Number 90.
Drew Gooden was nice.
No, I'm kidding. He was not. No, I'm kidding.
What about yeah. But I agree with that take. But there we have it today. It's great content. Appreciate you guys listening to the Baller Sports Dialogue podcast. Follow us on TikTok, Baller Sports Dialogue, Instagram, Baller Sports Dialogue Podcast,
Yes,
the Baller
sir.
Sports Dialogue Podcast on Instagram and TikTok, the Baller Sports Dialogue Podcast on Instagram and TikTok, and our YouTube as well. Thank you so much for listening. It's been your co-host, Brandon Deutsch and Grant Mona.
Wait, one more. Athletic Gains, baby.
Plug Athletic Gains, the best place for athletes all across the world. Great prices for work
Amazing
work that can't get you won't be
Incredible
able to
staff.
reach your potential elsewhere. That's for sure.
Incredible trainers, incredible staff.
Exactly, including this guy, Mr. Oliver.
Shout out Brian. Shout out James. Shout out Matt. Shout out all of them.
Shout out Travell.
Shout out CG.
TG.
TG.
Allowing us to record in your
Shout out Connor.